What's up, Steelers Nation? You know our team is always looking to get better, sharpening the iron, building that championship roster, and making sure we bring that Lombardi trophy back to Pittsburgh where it belongs. And I'm telling you right now, things might be heating up again. But before we dive into this juicy story, smash that like button. It helps more Steelers fans find our videos. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe so you never miss any breaking news from the black and gold world. Now, let's talk about a certain superstar wide receiver, tensions rising in Washington, and why the Pittsburgh Steelers could actually make a run for him. Yes, we're talking about Terry McLaurin. So here's the deal. The Steelers just wrapped up one of the most aggressive offseasons we've seen in years. We brought in Aaron Rodgers, landed DK Metcalf, upgraded the O-line, retooled the DL line, the works. But you guys know as well as I do, that wide receiver room, outside of DK, it's got a few question marks. Calvin Austin III has been battling injuries, and while we've got talent, the depth isn't bulletproof. That's why Terry McLaurin's name has been floating around Pittsburgh lately. And why now? Because the situation in Washington is starting to get messy. McLaurin's entering the final year of his contract, and he's locked in a standoff with the Commanders over a new deal. He's officially requested a trade. Now, some folks think that's just leverage to get an extension, but tensions are definitely climbing. And when you have your star receiver in a contract fight, missing valuable preseason reps with your quarterback, that's not just a paper problem. That's a chemistry problem. And trust me, Steelers Nation, the window for another team to step in and say, hey, we'll take him off your hands, is cracking open. Let's break this. Down from the Washington side, offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah. The same Cliff from Arizona was asked about McLaurin the other day, and you could almost hear the frustration in his voice. He said it's all about time on task, about needing his QB and WR1 to be on the field together to rebuild that chemistry from last season. And he's right, they made the NFC Championship game in 2024, largely because McLaurin was cooking with rookie QB Jaden Daniels. But guess what? They can't rebuild. That magic, if Terry's not out there, Kingsbury basically admitted they need him on the grass, and it's not happening. That's how situations turn from we'll figure it out to okay, maybe it's time to talk trade. And according to sources, the Steelers have already made a phone call to Washington to check in. That's not speculation, folks. That's action. Now, if you're wondering why the Steelers would even entertain this, think about it. McLaurin across from DK Metcalf, Aaron Rodgers pulling the strings, Pat Freiermuth in the middle, Najee and Jaylen Warren in the backfield. That's a pick-your poison offense. McLaurin's not just speed, he's precise in his routes, dangerous after the catch, and thrives against man coverage. You can't just double Metcalf anymore, because McLaurin will eat you alive. And let's be real, Rodgers is 41. This isn't about 5 years down the road, it's about winning right now. Adding McLaurin would be the kind of all-in move that says, we're here to take the AFC. Of course, nothing's free. Washington's not going to hand him over for a handshake and a pre-Manti sandwich. But here's the interesting part, because McLaurin wants a new deal, a big one. Similar to what DK's making, his trade value might not be sky-high, reports say. Pittsburgh could potentially land him for a third-round pick and maybe a day 3 pick, a 4th or 5th, because Washington knows whoever trades for him has to give him that extension. The question is, would the Steelers be willing to put 2 top-tier WR contracts on the books? It's not something they've historically done, but the salary cap gymnastics could work if they want to make that Super Bowl push. And I know some of you are thinking, but what about the defense? Well, that's where things get interesting. While all this WR talk is happening, TJ Watt has been talking about the young guys on defense, and he's hyped. He's seen that year to jump from Peyton Wilson, who's not just covering anymore, but wants to stay on the field in every situation. He's impressed with rookie first-rounder Derek Harmon, likes what he's seeing from Big Yaya Black, and even gave a shout-out to Jack 5-star Sawyer, who's already showing he's not afraid to mix it up in the trenches. If these young guys step up like Watt's predicting, the defense can keep its elite status even if the Steelers funnel a little more money to the offensive side. And that's important because a trade for McLaurin wouldn't just be about adding a weapon. It's about balancing this roster for a championship run. Think about the narrative here, Steelers Nation. You've got Aaron Rodgers, arguably one of the smartest QBs to ever play the game. You've got DK Metcalf, one of the most physically dominant WRS in the league. You've got a loaded defense that's ready to cause chaos every Sunday. The one thing that could push this offense from good to unfair is adding another elite WR who can burn you deep, work the sidelines, and open up the middle for everyone else. That's Terry McLaurin. Sure, it's a gamble. Sure, it's money and draft picks. But every championship team has to take that big swing. And if Rodgers is only here for 2 years, you don't want to look back and think, man, if we just made that one move. Look, we all know the headlines from this offseason have been wild. Signing Aaron Rodgers to a 1-year deal worth up to $20 million. That's not just news. That's the kind of move that makes ESPN and NFL Network run special segments for days. Adding DK Metcalf in a blockbuster trade? That's a nightmare for defensive backs around the league. And let's not forget Pro Bowl tight end Jonnu Smith coming over to Pittsburgh, a guy who already knows exactly how Arthur Smith likes to run his offense. But here's the truth. None of these moves matter if we don't keep Rodgers upright. And that's where this story really starts, with the offensive line. The group that's going to have the enormous responsibility of protecting a 41-year-old quarterback and opening lanes for the run game. Arthur Smith is known for his physical, balanced offensive approach. And that's exactly what this O-line needs. He's not just a play caller. He's a guy who designs schemes that let linemen attack instead of just react. That matters, especially for a young, athletic line like ours. Fans on social media have already picked up on it. Some have pointed out specific plays from Smith's past, stops that seem tailor-made to get the offensive line moving downhill with controlled aggression. And it's not just the fans. Even former Steelers lineman Try Essex has chimed in, giving praise for Smith's style. When you've got young studs like Troy Fautanu and Broderick Jones, both first-round talents, that kind of scheme can be the difference between a good year and a Pro Bowl year. Let's talk Broderick Jones. Drafted in the first round in 2023, he's been playing out of position at right tackle for most of his career so far, filling in wherever the team needed him because of injuries and depth issues. Now he's back on his natural left side. That's huge. Last year, Jones struggled with penalties and some shaky pass protection. But you have to remember, he was a young player playing in a less comfortable spot. This year, with the benefit of experience and a scheme that plays to his strengths, he's primed for a breakout season. On the other side, Troy Fautanu is coming off a frustrating rookie season where he barely saw the field because of injuries. This is a guy with serious talent, the kind of athleticism and strength you need on the edge. If he stays healthy, he could make a big jump in year 2. And here's where Arthur Smith comes in again. His offensive designs often get tackles moving, pulling, and working in space. That's tailor-made for a player like Fautanu. It's not just the tackles. Inside, we've got a veteran presence in Isaac Sumalo, at left guard, steady, smart, and a leader in the room. Then there's Zach Frazier at center, a second-year guy with a nasty streak and a high football IQ, and at right guard, Mason McCormick is turning heads as a young player who can move people in the run game last season. Injuries kept this group from building the chemistry they needed. If they stay healthy, this line could be one of the most improved units in the entire league. Another big advantage, Arthur Smith isn't walking into Pittsburgh cold. He's worked with Jonnu Smith before in both Tennessee and Atlanta, and he knows exactly how to use him to keep defenses guessing. Add that to a group of playmakers that includes DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin III, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, and a healthy Roman Wilson. And you've got an offense that can stretch the field and punish teams in the trenches. And remember, a balanced offense isn't just about the skill guys. The more variety Arthur Smith throws at defenses, the more comfortable our old line can play. You give them rhythm, you give them confidence, and they start controlling games. Let's be real, Aaron Rodgers isn't here for a rebuild. He's here to win right now. That means the offensive line doesn't have a grow-into-it grace period. They need to be sharp from week 1, and Arthur Smith's system gives them a path to do that. And here's the exciting part. If this line does come together, the Steelers won't just be competitive, they'll be dangerous. A protected Rodgers plus a physical run game behind Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. That's the kind of combo that wins in January. If you're heading to camp or watching preseason games, keep your eyes locked on the O-line. Watch how Jones looks on the left side. Watch how Fautanu moves in space. Pay attention to the communication inside between Frazier and McCormick. And keep an eye on how Arthur Smith uses motion, tight ends, and running backs to give these guys the best matchups possible. So here's my question for you, Steelers Nation. If you're Omar Khan, do you pull the trigger? Do you send that third rounder and a late pick to Washington, sign McLaurin to a big extension, and give Rodgers one of the best WR duos in the NFL? Or do you ride with what we've got, trust Calvin Austin 3 to stay healthy, and keep the draft capital for next year? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to be reading them all. And let me know, is this the move that wins us Super Bowl number 7? If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? This is the place for every Steelers fan who wants the inside scoop, every rumor, every piece of news, and all the hype leading into game day. All right, that's all for today. Here we go. Steelers, here we go.